Into A to Z Sports, prime time on a Sunday night. I hope everybody's feeling right. Hope everybody's living well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. And I hope you're ready for college basketball, for March Madness, because the brackets were announced tonight. We are going to go through what Tennessee is going to face in the first round. We are going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of this Vols basketball team. We're going to get to the biggest snubs in the NCAA tournament, although I literally just got done watching Joe Lunardi, and he got 67 of the 68 right. So it seems like most people had this year's bracket pretty well figured out. But we'll get to the snubs as well, because there's a local one that's in consideration. And because it's a Sunday night, we'll do the Tennessee Heating and Cooling Heat Check here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. A lot of college basketball here this evening. Almost forgot about daylight savings time, says El Boogie 808. I know, I feel refreshed. It's a lot earlier for me. Matthew Eggers asked how I'm doing. I'm doing quite well. I feel pretty good. And I think it's because we're about an hour ahead of schedule based on, daylight savings time. And now let's just hope to God it doesn't move again. I never want to go backwards. I just want to stay spring forward until the end of time. But that's not what we're going to talk about tonight on Prime Time. We are going to talk about college basketball, but we want your friends' involvement. We want you to share this show on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. We're everywhere tonight on the A to Z Sports streaming network. Karen O'Keefe says, I wish Alabama will just go away. We'll talk about Alabama. Good evening, Stacy. Good to see you. I'm doing quite well, thank you. Before we get going, you have to share this show, so retweet it. If you view with us on Periscope, it's in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen. If you view with us on Facebook Live, you can share. You can share now to public. That's how your Facebook friends will get involved. If you're on YouTube or Twitch, we're live streaming here. We're ready to talk about college basketball, and we just want you to tell your friends. So share this show on YouTube and let the fine folks know on Twitch that we are live streaming here on a Sunday night. And now that more of you are here, we can get the show started officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports Prime Time on a Sunday from the DraftKings Sportsbook Studios. I'm your host, Buck Rising, and I am proud as always to be presented to you by Two Rivers Forge. You know that they're the best in the business. You know that they have been at the SEC tournament all weekend. I was talking to John Barker. He was at the SEC tournament. A lot of the people that work with this show were at the SEC tournament this weekend. Hell, I was at the SEC tournament this weekend. But Two Rivers Ford is involved with the community, involved with great customer service for nearly 5 decades here in Middle Tennessee. Do yourself a favor, go to Mount Juliet and pay them a visit, or do your car shopping online at tworiversford.com. If you're not using the DraftKings Sportsbook app, you're losing money. If you're not using the promo code A to Z Sports, you're just flat out using money. Jack Gentry is 6-0. You need to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. You need to plug in the promo code A to Z Sports. You need to go get this bag that's out there waiting for you. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, using the promo code A2Z Sports. The Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the official real estate agent of the Titans, who are getting ready to have some new free agents. So Gary will be helping them find a home. He's the official real estate agent of the Preds too, but the Preds they're trying to ship some people out of town. Anyway, GaryAshton.com, your dream address without the stress, or if you're looking to sell for more with the Ashton team. And of course, Brymac Mechanical, Chris Hamby was also at the SEC tournament this weekend, providing, satisfaction guaranteed to whomever was in the suite with him's HVAC needs, I'm sure. Brymac.com, BRYMAK. Brymac is where you go. Their main location out in Clarksville, 3 locations across the mid-state and in Kentucky, courtesy of Brymac Mechanical. Okay, so I have a bad feeling about Titans free agency, says Josh Medina. Seems like we will be disappointed for the most part. Josh, don't get caught up in that tonight. Tonight, we're talking basketball. So I'm going to say Michigan State gets hot, says Lewis, and goes to the Final Four. Well, I'm sure all of you are making your brackets. Blake Edwards asks, is John Fulkerson in or out? I saw that he went back to Knoxville today or yesterday to go have a procedure on his face fracture. He just that vicious elbow by Omar Payne against Florida knocked him out for the semifinal against Alabama. It's unfortunate because they really could have used his help. But I do not know, and I don't think they know at this point, whether John Fulkerson will play in the NCAAs. Now, you'll hear from Rick Barnes. You'll hear from Yves Pons. I combined their two last names. Rick Barnes and Yves Pons. You will hear from them tonight. You will also hear about the biggest snubs. But the first question that I have for you here on the Primetime Show, the Two Rivers Ford Take. Do you feel better or worse about the Vols basketball team after seeing what they did in the NCAA tournament? Because there was mixed emotions, right? The game against Alabama, it ended very, very unfortunately. 2 missed free throws, a terrible last play drawn up to take that shot from 3 where everybody just kind of looked disorganized. But against Florida, they were largely dominant. Alabama, they really held their own better than I expected them to. I have to give Tennessee more credit than I initially did. But at this point, don't forget it's MSU presented by Rocket Mortgage. Now says Hoboken 808. Yeah, that's just that's a joke that I know Joe Rexroad had a great deal of fun with on social media this week. But now I want to know from you guys, your Two Rivers Ford take. Do you feel better or worse about the Vols after the SEC tournament? Puka says, yeah, I do mean SEC. Forgive me if I said NCAA. Roll Tide Roll, says Charles Heron. He's a Alabama basketball, it seems, fan. Alabama just refusing to leave any of the sports to anybody. A fantastic SEC championship game today between Alabama and LSU. If you didn't catch it, it was very, very fun to watch. LSU is a great time. I'm really looking forward to see all of these SEC teams in the tournament. But now the question becomes, do you feel better or worse about Tennessee? Because I think there are a lot of things, as Puka points out, depending on John Fulkerson. I think that you saw some of the things that make you feel really, really confident about Tennessee in both the Florida and even now the Alabama game, even though they collapsed in the final minutes and really seconds. Old Vol says, I hated it for LSU. I know it was really, really, but it was a great game. So I can't even criticize the results, even though it did look like LSU got robbed a little bit to a degree. Alabama winning today. But Tennessee, you saw a more consistent, like we saw against Florida a couple of days ago, about a week ago today. You saw a more consistent Victor Bailey Jr. You saw the freshmen really, really step up. Keon and Springer were great against Alabama and Florida in the SEC tournament here in Nashville. But I feel that there is cause for concern without John Fulkerson. So the question becomes, do you feel better or worse? Your Two Rivers Ford take. You'll hear from Rick Barnes here in a second, and then I'll give you my answer right after I tell you about the fine folks at Two Rivers Ford. What you need to be doing is you need to be going to Mount Juliet. Even if you could be like me and you're not necessarily a people person, but that's fine. They'll make you feel at home. They'll make you feel like family, and they'll do it from a safe and social distance, of course. The vehicles, you have to go check them out in person. The electric Mach-E Mustang, I saw it in rotation with some of the rideshare services that were being used around Nashville this weekend. I didn't go anywhere, but I saw them out on the streets. I saw them in my neighborhood. They're incredibly sleek cars. They're beautiful, and they're plugged into the future, just like the Ford Bronco Sport, just like the new F-150. You're missing out if you're not going to pay them a visit in Mount Juliet, or at least doing some window shopping online at tworiversford.com, the best in the business. So do you feel better or worse about Tennessee? Stacy feels better. Karen O'Keefe agrees. Sean does as well, all of them on Facebook. Old Vol says, I hope Bama gets cut before the Sweet 16. Oh, Fama gets cut before the Sweet 16. And no, that wasn't a misspelling. Jeff Sawyer says, if we beat Oregon State, then we got Oklahoma State. Excuse me. It will be a tough game. Yes. And I probably should have mentioned that off the top. We knew Tennessee was going to be in the NCAA tournament. The brackets were released tonight. They are the 5 seed. They're playing the 12 Oregon State. They should be the superior team in that matchup. Based on the metrics. I looked at the net rating. I looked at KenPom. Oregon State's at 85 in KenPom. Tennessee is 21. They really aren't terribly close. Kenston, we're not talking NFL tonight. We're talking college basketball. Stick with the program here. If we beat Oregon State, says Jeff Sawyer, we got Oklahoma State, as he mentioned, it'll be a tough game. Damn, Memphis didn't make the tournament. Save that for snubs because we'll talk about that up next, even though I think Memphis was really languishing this year. Do you feel better or worse about Tennessee, though, heading into the NCAA tournament after watching them against Bama and Florida? Because Rick Barnes, after the loss, still found some positivity to take away from his team's performance.
I am. I just told him that. I said, hey, man, I'm not going to let you guys put your head down. I've been doing this too long, and I've had teams that have lost in the semifinals and have gone and made great runs. And Kim has talked about the same thing. I mean, hey, yeah, we want to win this. I've said it coming in this week. You want to be a champion. I don't care if it's a regular season, conference tournament champion. You want to be a champion. But the one you really want to be every year is in the big fight for the big one. I said that when I walked on this campus 6 years ago. I said it my entire career. We want to be a team that's in this tournament every year. And I've seen enough in my lifetime, more than these guys have known, but I've seen teams get it and go. And I like where our team is right now. And I'm not afraid to play whoever it is we got to play because I know what this team's going to do. They're going to play their hearts out, and they're going to go at it. And that's all we can expect from them.
Do you feel better or worse about Tennessee? Rick Barnes is excited, and frankly, so am I. I really thought that Tennessee, it's the rare time when Tennessee got better or when any team gets better despite losing in the semifinals, because Alabama, they could have easily beat Alabama. Maybe not, I shouldn't say easily, because Alabama's a really great team. Javon Quinterly is fantastic. Herb Jones, SEC Player of the Year. Like, these are no slouches by any stretch of the imagination. And if you have foul ups, little miscues throughout the course of a game, like Tennessee did, you're going to lose to a team like that. And it showed. But the best part of it is that they are still in comfortable position in their Midwest NCAA bracket seeding. They play a game in the first round against a team that they're far superior than, against Oregon State. I think that, I don't know if it's Rick Barnes' year, Old Vol, because I think, again, I know Fulkerson has not been a huge impact player in the last month and a half, but I really do think he provides something that they desperately need, that the rest of the players on that team in that rotation do not have, which is obviously the ability to rebound consistently and get points in the paint. I think that Tennessee, I feel better about them after the SEC tournament, but that I am concerned about the John Fulkerson injury, not knowing if he will be able to participate in the NCAAs. Of course, he got that face fracture against Florida. Omar Payne, I know he said he was apologetic. I know Fulkerson tweeted out something very nice about the exchange the two of them had after he got the bow to the dome, which, I mean, that bruise looked so bad. They kept showing him on the ESPN broadcast on Saturday and just like slumping his head. You could tell he was, I mean, maybe he's not ducking the cameras necessarily because I don't know how often, I don't know if Fulkerson pays attention to that. But as soon as he looked up, I mean, that knot on his eye is so bad. Just a brutal thing to have happen to a guy who you really hoped was going to be able to participate in this tournament. And it remains to be seen. But I still do feel better about what I saw from Yves Pons, about what I saw from the freshmen, about what I saw from Victor Bailey Jr. I really think they've got a lot of good pieces, a well-rounded team, if everything is functioning properly. They responded to pressure outside of the two missed field goals at the end of the game, and then they looked a bit. Springer took a terrible shot at the end of the game that cost him points, cost him a possession. It was a wasted possession. They started to lose the turnover battle against Alabama. The final shot by Victor Bailey Jr., that Dick Vitale, he acted like it went in. And I guess I could understand from Dickie V's vantage point why he thought that, but it was just a disorganized play at the end of that game in Tennessee's last possession. And Alabama is just too good to let things like that slide at the end of a basketball game. But I do feel better about Tennessee right now. And if you did not catch what Rick Barnes said earlier, it is worth hearing. We will play for you that again here in just a second. Do you feel better or worse about Tennessee's performance after the NCAA tournament heading into SEC play? That's the question, the Two Rivers Ford take. We're asking you guys here on a Sunday night. While you guys respond, I will tell you quickly about the fine folks at the Ashton Real Estate Group of RE/MAX Advantage, the best in the business. GaryAshton.com. That is who you know that you need to go with when you are in the real estate. And if you are looking to buy real estate, if you're looking to sell real estate, whatever your real estate needs, Gary Ashton is the official real estate agent of all your favorite sports teams and your favorite sports streaming show. They will make sure that you get exactly what you need, exactly what you desire through the process of the home buying experience. It can stress you out. I will testify to that because it stressed me the hell out. So you need people that you can trust. You can trust the Ashton team to help find you your dream address without the stress. Or if you are in the market to sell your home, sell for more with Gary Ashton. Prosper Pine says, do I have COVID? No, I haven't had COVID. I had COVID in August. No. And I get tested still. Probably I get tested monthly just because I'm a freak about that. And I want to know, what's going on and what I can do and whether I'm safe to be around people. I'm a little bit of a, what's the word? What's the word when you obsess about your health? I can't remember. There's some kind of term when you obsess about your health unnecessarily, and it's not, it's good to be cautious during the time of the Rona, but I think that I lean on the overcautious side of things. But no sign of the Rona since I had it in August. Puka says, got my first vaccine shot today. Congratulations. I hope you are well on the way to getting hypochondriac. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. But yes, I'm a hypochondriac, so I go get tested monthly. Ronnie Sneed says I'm health conscious. Yeah, hypochondriac is probably the way to describe it. Now the Rona, we're all a little shook up, but it's okay. The question being, what do you feel about the situation? Do you feel better or worse about Tennessee heading into the NCAA play? As I mentioned to you, if you guys didn't miss it, because I see a bunch of new people just filed in, this is what Rick Barnes had to say after the loss to Alabama. He's excited. And I don't know how many people would echo those sentiments after a loss if there wasn't true growth from their team.
I am. I just told him that. I said, hey, man, I'm not going to let you guys put your head down. I've been doing this too long, and I've had teams that have lost in the semifinals and have gone and made great runs. And Kim Ingles talked about the same thing. I mean, hey, yeah, we want to win this. I've said it coming into this week. You want to be a champion. I don't care if it's a regular season, conference tournament champion. You want to be a champion. But the one you really want to be every year is in the big fight for the big one. I said that when I walked on this campus 6 years ago. I've said it my entire career. We want to be a team that's in this tournament every year. And I've seen enough in my lifetime, more than these guys have known, but I've seen teams get it and go. And I like where our team is right now. And I'm not afraid to play whoever it is we got to play, because I know what this team's going to do. They're going to play their hearts out, and they're going to go at it. And that's all we can expect from them.
So that's all that you can be. That's all that can be expected, and that's how you should legitimately approach this tournament. Because I think Tennessee is going to be fine against Oregon State. Oklahoma State is a really good basketball team, and that's who they would face if they advance. But at this point, feel confident in what you have from Tennessee. I know offensively they're shaky. I know that changes if John Fulkerson's there to rebound both offensively and defensively. I really like their shot selection outside of Jaden Springer's shot at the end of that game. It just I hate the mid-range jumpers. He's so good at them, but he looked rushed. It was a terrible shot that I was pretty critical of, and I try not to be too critical of college athletes. But the situation stands. There are good things about this Tennessee basketball team. They're well-rounded. They play elite-level defense when they are motivated to. And the offense you worry about probably more than anything. But I think at least to make a little bit of an impact, I don't know how far they're going to go. I think it's all but set in stone that Gonzaga is going to win this thing, to be the first undefeated team to win the championship since my Indiana Hoosiers. Probably 40 years before I was born in 76, at least almost 40 years before I was born in 76. I was born. Wait, no, I got the math wrong. Anyway, it's been at least 25 years since I have been alive and Indiana has won a championship. So let me not do math on air in a way that would embarrass myself. But the point being, I think Tennessee has a little something. I don't know how far they will make it, but I think that you can feel confident, at least coming off what you saw in SEC tournament play. But let's start with Let's start with the snubs that were announced in the March Madness tournament. Now, a lot of people, the bracketologists, it's really only Lunardi, and it's really only Lunardi, Joey Brackets, and I forget the guy from CBS Sports, but you know who I'm talking about. What I will say to you is that there were snubs aplenty, especially one here locally. And I want to know from you guys here on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. You guys are everywhere. Who was the biggest snub in the NCAA tournament when the brackets were announced earlier this evening? Let me know on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV who you felt was the most snubbed, given that Tennessee got in. Thank God Kentucky and Duke didn't get in. I would have lost my mind if they would have found a way to put those two in, because it would have just been for television ratings. Now, if something happens with one of the teams, I know there are protocols in place with COVID to make sure that there can be replacement teams and there can, the NCAA tournament can roll along. Jerry Palm. Thank you, Jeff Rubel. I blanked on Jerry Palm's name from CBS Sports. But I want to know who you felt was the biggest snub here on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. While you guys do that, I will remind you quickly about the fine folks at DraftKings Sportsbook. March biggest tournament is finally here. We are rolling. We are ready for the NCAAs. We do not know who will be cutting down the nets at the end, but we do know there will be no shortage of madness. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is putting new customers in the center of the action. Bet $4 on an underdog, win $256 if they win. Just that simple. Pick one of many select college basketball underdogs for your shot at winning $256. All it takes is a $4 bet. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Do it while I'm talking to you. I'm telling you, I'm threatening you. Do it while I'm talking to you, or else. And then use the promo code A to Z Sports when you sign up to turn $4 into $256 if the underdog of your choosing pulls off the upset. Code A to Z Sports to turn $4 into $256 for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. You must be 21 or older, Tennessee only. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and you want help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line 1-800-889-9789. DraftKings, America's top-rated sportsbook app. So the question becomes, who was the biggest snub? Barstool Belmont says Belmont. Understandably so. They might be biased. No way we could beat those refs. SMH, the calls were awful, very one-sided, says Derek, talking about the balls against Alabama. Yeah, that was a tough way to go. John Bertotti says Belmont has to be way up there. They're a solid team that could have done real damage this year. El Boogie 808 says wanted Memphis in, but I know they didn't have the wins. Well, Belmont had the wins, and really Belmont's the only answer, the only right answer. I know Wichita State, there are some people making the argument for them. Stacy says the Memphis Tigers as well, but the only answer is Belmont. 26 wins should absolutely get you into the NCAA tournament. I understand what the knocks against Belmont are. I understand that the situation allowed the selection committee to push them out without much bother except from the local fan base and from people who are paying attention to Tennessee sports. But very rarely do I say good for Dick Vitale. And it's nothing personal against Dick Vitale. I just feel very, very strongly about him on college basketball broadcasts. It's just a personal thing. I think Dickie V he's an icon in the sport that I love the most, and I respect the hell out of him for it. But when it comes to on the games, he bothers me. He just bothers me, except when he knows what he's talking about as it relates to teams that should have gotten in. Belmont, according to Dick Vitale and many others, many people are saying, as a former president would say, many people are saying that Belmont should have got in.
There's no way. 42 years, Reese. So I got to have a gripe. And my gripe is this. 26 wins. They had as many wins as anybody in the tournament. We're talking about Belmont. I thought Belmont should have been in this tournament, and I don't know why they weren't, other than the fact that we said, well, who do they play? Well, who do they play? They don't get a chance to get all those quad one wins as some of these teams do. But 26-4, they deserve to be in. That's my only gripe. And I'll simply say this. I'm just excited.
So that's Dick Vitale tonight on the Bracketology Show, praising Belmont, singing the praises of Belmont, rightfully so. 26 wins should get you into the tournament. It's infuriating, and much less to not even make the NIT. That's offensive. Memphis, as Ronnie Sneed points out, at least our Tigers made the NIT. Rather have Belmont than Ole Miss and Wichita State, says El Boogie 808. Coach Payton says, Belmont, stupid, you have to win your conference to get in, but the selection committee are experts. Apparently a nightmare, says Barstool Belmont. I understand. You should be upset. You should be furious because you absolutely deserve a piece of this tournament, and much less to not make the NIT. It's just, it's an insult. It's nothing. It is as plain and obvious an insult to the integrity of college basketball as anything that there was. The only thing that would have been more offensive to me is if somehow Duke or Kentucky would have found their way into this year's NCAAs. And I understand that it's going to be just brutal for television purposes because those are the two biggest and baddest fan bases when it comes to consuming this sport. But it would have been completely unjust, almost as unjust as Belmont not getting in this year. Completely and totally ridiculous. Belmont being the biggest March Madness snub. Ronnie Sneed said that's messed up. They didn't even make the NIT. I'm saying, don't know how you explain to those kids winning 26 games doesn't even get you an NIT. I mean, it's tough, right? When you are as excellent as Belmont was all year long, like the best thing that you can say is that there are no seniors on this Belmont team. So at least nobody is getting robbed that way, in a way that I think would have been truly heartbreaking. Now this is still heartbreaking to a degree, but at least this Belmont team, the players on this Belmont team, will have the opportunity to make another run at this thing and to try and win their conference. But the situation with Belmont is still, that's not going to make any of those kids feel better about the situation. Well, at least you're not seniors, and at least it doesn't hurt as bad because this would be your last season. It's simply not right. The place that Belmont finds themselves in, the selection committee should frankly be ashamed of themselves for letting some of the teams in that they did. Ole Miss, I love Kermit Davis. I think he's done a great job. I would have rather had Belmont, without question. Wichita State, I think, is a good story given everything that went on there in the offseason or leading up to this season with Greg Marshall apparently being, I don't remember the exact details, but Greg Marshall got in some serious trouble, and I think it had stuff to do with race. So I want to be, but I don't want to, accuse inaccurately because I don't have the facts in front of me. Long story short, I would have rather seen Belmont. It's just as good a story as either of those other two teams. Barstool Belmont says Mississippi State. Yeah, Mississippi State. I don't get that one at all. I simply don't. And I thought the SEC was really strong this year, but that is not something that I found acceptable. I was expecting Duke to get in after it was announced that they would be eligible to be selected into the NCAA tournament. I know we all did. And there's still time if a team drops out due to COVID. I think something could really, really blow up in their face. But anyway, Belmont being the biggest snub here on A to Z Sports Prime Time. Let's do the Tennessee Heating and Cooling heat check. Let's feel better about ourselves. Let us celebrate somebody who got hot in sports. You guys know how this works. You give me who got hot. You give me who cooled off in sports this weekend. Let me know your Tennessee Heating and Cooling heat check in the comments on Facebook Live, Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch TV. We will discuss together. I will share with you my selection, and I feel like it's going to make you feel a little better if you're a Tennessee sports fan, not just a Tennessee basketball fan, but just a Tennessee sports fan in general. Who got hot? Who cooled off in sports this weekend? While you guys do that, I'll tell you about Tennessee Heating and Cooling's parent company, Brymac Mechanical. BRYMAK, Brymac.com. I was supposed to go out to Clarksville to their main headquarters on Friday. The weather did not permit me to do so. We will be making an appearance out there this week. Brymac Mechanical promise you satisfaction guaranteed on all of your HVAC needs. And when they say all, they mean all, because they don't just do residential. They do commercial as well. They can improve your air quality. They want to make sure that you are in your comfort zone as the seasons begin to change. BRYMAK, Brymac Mechanical. Who got hot? Who cooled off in sports this week? Michigan State will make a major run, says Griffin Falk on YouTube. Count it. I mean, the whole Izzo and March thing is a really big cliche. Excuse me as I take a drink. But Tom Izzo understands how to work players and, more importantly, referees as well as anybody in the tournament. Hot, hot, hot. Georgetown. Go Hoya, says El Boogie 808. I really love the pictures going around of Patrick Ewing celebrating with his kids. It's a great story. Patrick Ewing just continuously denied head coaching jobs until he finally got his alma mater at Georgetown. And he's done really, really solid things with him. He's just proved that he belongs in the head coaching ranks in college basketball. Belmont won the same amount of games as Gonzaga. What conference is Gonzaga in? Well, they're in the is Gonzaga in the Mountain West? I should probably know that. They're not in the Pac-12. I feel like they're in the Mountain West. Somebody should correct me if I have that wrong. I'm blanking at the moment. But your point is well taken. Like, they're playing St. Mary's in their conference tournament. It's the competition is not there. Now, I still think Gonzaga is a fantastic team. I think they're fabulous. And I haven't filled out my bracket yet, but I would tell you right now that I would pick them to win it. The West Coast Conference. Thank you, Ronnie Sneed. But they're not playing anybody that's got real teeth in the West Coast Conference. We all understand this. All of their tough challenges, Tennessee included, happened before conference play began in this year's college basketball season. Hot, the Illini, says Louis Chesney. I really like Illinois. I might make them my championship game. Illinois against Gonzaga. Tyler Reddick, 29th place, finished today at Phoenix. Cooled off in NASCAR. Karen O'Keefe says the Preds continue to cool off. Coach Payton says FSU will be a good watch. Florida State, I love Leonard Hamilton. I think Florida State always has really, really good teams under him. They find ways to blow it in the tournament that maybe it's just a mental thing. Maybe it's an unfair stigma, and maybe this team is different. I don't know. But something about Florida State, especially after losing to Georgia Tech. What was that? Was that today or last night? I can't remember. I've been watching so much basketball this weekend. But anyway, they are definitely competitive, and I think they could make a nice run. Puka says Michigan, man, the Juwan Howard story is tremendous. I love that for, programs that still care about the history of college basketball. Who got hot, though? We'll go to Tennessee. Even in a loss, Yves Pons was fantastic. He was selected to the All-SEC tournament team. He was tremendous. They have started to kind of find their footing. He and John Fulkerson, obviously Fulkerson getting knocked out against Florida, but Yves Pons deserves all of the adulation that he's receiving right now.
I think they're trying to be aggressive, and it's a team that scored a lot of points in the paint, and we do a good job protecting the paint, protecting the rim. And I mean that's what I do. Play defense. That's my first job to do on the court. So that's what I did.
He's doing his job. He's doing what he's most comfortable doing. He is doing the things that help play winning basketball for Tennessee. He hit a three-pointer against Alabama that I was not expecting him to hit. He's not a good three-point shooter, but he came up big. And it's that fight, that drive, and that competitiveness from the seniors, with John Fulkerson including, that you will need. Pons can't do it on his own. This team is lacking without John Fulkerson. They need a big body down low to help with the rebounding, to help clean up the boards, to help with points in the paint. But at this point, I really thought that Pons played very, very well and deserving of his All-SEC tournament nomination. Pons making a case for a late second-round pick, says Coach Payton. I think that might be a stretch. But you never know. I don't know. I shouldn't say you never know. Let me not speak from a place of ignorance, Coach Payton. You may be right. I am not familiar with the entirety of the draft class that's declaring yet, so I will not talk down about that. He just doesn't strike me as somebody who's draftable. And that's not the shooting is not there. You just need to be able to shoot. Even if you are a defender, a defensive specialist like Pons is in college basketball, you really, really need to be able to shoot more consistently than he does. Juwan wanting to fight the other coach. Love it, says El Boogie 808. Juwan and who's it? Mark Turgeon from Maryland. Yeah, got up all in his face. Started saying, "Listen, I'm from Chicago. We don't play with it. We don't play that noise. We don't play that mess." Okay, and that was something we were all actively rooting on, myself included, while watching the Big Ten tournament this week. What time do they play, says Jordan Welch? I can find out for you shortly, perhaps, to see what time Tennessee plays Oregon State in the Midwest region. No, that's actually making me fill out my bracket, which I don't want to do yet. I don't want to stall too long, but I don't see it in front of me. I'll get back to you on that. No, hang on. Let me pull it up here really quick. See if I have an answer for you. All right, this is not helpful. I'm literally just, it says time TBD. So all that, all that for nothing. Time TBD on Friday, March 19th. So March 19th is when they played. They don't have a time announced yet for the game. And now I will shut up. Thank you for your participation. As always, you guys have been great. We appreciate you guys bringing it strong. We're going to have another fun week between the Primetime Show, between the 615 Sessions podcast, between the radio show on 104.5 The Zone, NFL free agency, Titans going to be up and rolling. We have a lot to talk about over the course of the next week. Tomorrow on 104.5 The Zone. Remember, I'm on from 10 to 1. And if you can't catch the radio show live, Buck Rising on 104.5 The Zone is where you get the podcast in your favorite podcast app. We will have Voice of the Titans, Mike Keith. We will have John Ledyard, who is the founder of the Draft Network. He now covers the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for Pewter Report, but it's a mock draft Monday, and John knows his stuff. So make sure that you are tuning into 104.5 The Zone between 10 and 1. And also, we're going to talk about some college basketball. And we'll keep tabs of all the news for you as well, because remember, the legal tampering period in the NFL begins tomorrow, and we will have a lot to talk about on Prime Time. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I will see you guys tomorrow, be it on the radio, be it on the Primetime Show. We're everywhere. Austin and Zach will have you covered in the morning at 8 a.m. For now, fam, enjoy the rest of your night. Support the people who support this show. That's Two Rivers Ford, DraftKings, Sportsbook, Gary Ashton Remax, and Brymac Mechanical, because they know, you know, that they will provide to you exceptional customer service, because they're not tired yet. And neither am I. So we'll see you tomorrow. And the content continues to roll on. No!